Hey everybody, it's Taki 117 here with Kerbal Space Program, and as you can see by the loading screen, we are not on Kerbin anymore. So, this is the beginning of a brand new quest for the warp drive. Feel free to drop a name suggestion in the description because I don't have one yet. But let's go ahead and get started. We'll set some ground rules, and we will launch some rockets. So start new, we are doing a career mode, and I'm selecting my awesome flag that I made myself. I'm going to call this Taki's Space Program. Difficulty options, so no reverting. If Kerbals die, they die. Let's see, re-entry heating, enable the comm network, because I have a mod to take care of that. Advanced, Kerbals level up immediately, so that if a Kerbal is in orbit, and that's the first time they've been to orbit, they will level up immediately. Part pressure limits, G-force limits for Kerbals and parts, so that if something goes wrong and I exceed those limits, my Kerbals will die or my parts will fail. Signal is required for control and plasma blackout, so during re-entry I will not have communications. I do want to always allow action groups, because those are convenient. And resource transfer obeys cross-feed rules, so that I can't transfer fuel between things that don't normally accept fuel transfer. So we're going to accept that, and we are going to get started. As you can see in the background, this is not Kerbin at all. But we got some stuff to take care of first. First things first, I do not like signal delay, so signal delay has been disabled. The speed of light is finite. You can only move so fast in the universe. Unfortunately, this causes a signal delay. So if I'm transmitting from like wherever I am to another planet, there's going to be a delay there before my commands are executed, and I don't like that. NASA programs in, mission parameters and all this other fun stuff, but I'm not NASA and I'm not a programmer. So I'm simulating that by disabling my signal delay. Oh, ground stations are hidden behind bodies, so if my ground station is on the other side of the planet, well, I won't have signal. Also, if I get too far away, then they will not show up. And then no connection is needed to control antennas. Again, NASA, programs these things to always search for a signal. So I'm going to simulate that by being able to point my dish wherever I need to be. Also, if something gets between me and my ground station, no signal. Let's take a look at the tech tree. Here it is in all its wonderful glory. I will be going row by row, the next row until the previous row is finished. So I have to complete all of these before I can move on to things like fuel systems and general construction, which gets me some really cool parts. So let's accept a couple of contracts and see what we got. Mission control, available contracts. We want to launch our first vessel and gather some science. So let's accept both of those. Excellent. Beginning our interstellar journey. Okay, that's weird. Huh. Must have had some issues during loading. Not a big deal, they are all still there. So anyway, our first thing we need is structural. No, not structural. Payload. Here we go. Need a payload truss so that we can put an avionics package on it. This will allow us to control our rocket. There we go. We are going to need some power. There we go. Power, a couple of batteries. That works. We will need some science. A Geiger counter. Film camera. Film camera's not going to do a whole lot. But what is going to do something is this thermometer here. And it's perfectly sized so that I can fit two of them. Wonderful. So the reason I want to is I'm going to run one on the launch pad, and then a second one in flight. I'm actually going to set that up so that I hit 1 and it will log the temperature. And then actually I'm going to do this a little differently. So if you noticed, as I was setting up my action group, that it set both thermometers, and that's not what I want. I want 2 separate thermometers. Anyway, so to copy the part, I press the Alt key and left click. So now when I select 1, it will just give me 1, and 2 will give me the other one. Cool. Alright, payload fairing. Gotta keep our parts safe as we ascend. Also need a parachute. Ta-da! Parachute. And some engines. So these rocket motors are special in that they are configured to discard themselves when they run out of fuel. It's kinda cool, actually. Also want to set my parachute to 0.5 for pressure deployment, and then 700 meters for altitude. I can just not have a real chute configuration, which is fine. Actually, I'm not entirely sure if I have that mod installed. No worries. I will call this sound 1. Something else I need are fins. Ooh, lots of fins. Lots of fin options. But I need these specifically. And I'm going to do something cool with them. So I'm going to put 4 of them on down here, and they are going to act as my launch stand. But I'm also going to tilt them a little. And the reason I'm doing that, just a little bit, is so that we have something called spin stabilization. I'm actually going to do the same for the upper stage here. And I'm going to offset these a little bit. I don't need to offset them, but I think it looks cool. But anyway, so spin stabilization, what that does is any inaccuracies in the rocket, you know, as it wobbles in flight, will be corrected because it's spinning around its long axis. As we can see here, it's going to be spinning in a this way direction, I think. But as air passes over these fins, it's going to cause the rocket to spin, therefore stabilizing it. So here we go. It's going to take us a couple days to build, which is fine. Jeb still does not want to give me delta V readouts, but that's okay. So here we go. Let's save and launch it. Okay, I am connected, so I'm going to go ahead and run my temperature experiment. Oh, hey. Readings are quite literally nominal. And here we go. Launching in 3, 2, 1. And there goes that spin stabilization. And we are going to run our second experiment. While flying, we have collected and recorded temperature data. And now you can see those flight inaccuracies I was talking about as we get off axis here. Sorry for the camera shaking. Let's try to minimize that a little bit. Right now I am waiting for my velocity to reach near-ish 0. There we go. Now I'm going to deploy my parachute. I got up to almost 8,000 meters with that simple rocket. That's not bad. Something just hit the ground. Still spinning, not quite to an altitude where my parachute is going to deploy. It is armed, however. There it goes. Now that's going to slow our spin considerably until such a time as we hit the ground. And that is an anomaly. I'll have to investigate that later. So we are about 4 kilometers up. We are at 12 meters a second, so that effectively concludes this mission. It looks like I still have some tweaking to do with my mods. Some things have loaded and some things have not that should have. But we're going to go ahead and speed up a little bit. See you guys on the ground. And there we are, safely back on the ground. That is all for this episode. I'm Taki117, and remember, it's only rocket science.